Hello everyone. Our today's topic is pollination and outbreeding devices. As I told you in my previous video that in my next video I will show you pollination. I will talk about pollination. So here it is pollination. So this is the page, your NCERT book page number 27, where you will get definition of pollination, types of pollination. So all of you know that pollination means transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. Why does it require? We are talking about flowering plants, and we know that in flowering plant pollen grains are there, at the same time egg is there, and both the type of gametes are non-motile. They have to be brought together for fertilization to occur. That is why pollination is required. So pollination means transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. Definitely pollination, already we are knowing that pollination, it is of two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Another term we can write here, what is self-pollination and what is cross-pollination. Self-pollination means we can write here there autogamy, and cross-pollination we can write there xenogamy. So what is self-pollination? Self-pollination means transfer of pollen from anther of flower to the stigma of the same flower. That is self-pollination. Means flower should be bisexual. But always it is not possible. In case of self-pollination, there should be some synchronization. What is the meaning of synchronization? Means releasing of pollen or formation of pollen and formation of carpel or receptivity of carpel should be at the same time. Pollen grain formation and releasing, and pistil formation and its maturity. It should be at the same time. Then self-pollination will take place and followed by fertilization. So here I am showing you one flow chart regarding pollination. It is of two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Already we talk about this. Self-pollination, again we can see here, that is autogamy and another is geitonogamy. So autogamy means it is a simple self-pollination where in the same flower transferring taking place, that is autogamy. What is the meaning of geitonogamy? So I want to show you one picture so that it would be clear. Here is the picture. So first case is for the allogamy, autogamy. So in case of autogamy, we can see here, this is autogamy. We can see here it is occurring in the same flower, that is autogamy. Occurring in the same flower, it is autogamy. Then second is xenogamy. Xenogamy, you can see here another term is written, that is allogamy. Don't worry. So we can write here xenogamy also. So it is xenogamy or allogamy, and it takes place in two different flowers. One is here and another flower is here. So that is xenogamy, or you can say it is cross-pollination. Now the third one is geitonogamy. What is the meaning of geitonogamy? Again, it is very simple. Geitonogamy means you can see plant A. You can see here plant A. One flower and another flower of the same plant. Pollination takes place. One flower to another flower of the same plant. Then it is called geitonogamy. Right? So I think all three terms are clear. One is xenogamy, another is autogamy, and last one is geitonogamy. I'd like to tell you one thing regarding geitonogamy because it is new. Geitonogamy, as we can see, two different flowers. So, ecologically it is cross-pollination. From outside, definitely two different flower means it is cross-pollination. But genetically, it is same because both the flowers, they are from the same plant. So, genetically, they are same. So, genetically, it is self-pollination. Gene-wise, there is no change, no new character formation. But from outside, we can say that yes, it is cross-pollination. So that is the unique feature of the geitonogamy. That is genetically same but ecologically cross. Once again, geitonogamy means transfer of pollen from one flower to another flower but same plant. That is geitonogamy. Now, next topic is pollinating agent. What do you mean by pollinating agent? So you can see here two type of pollinating agents. Pollinating agents means uh, pollination takes place with the help of these things. That may be non-living, that may be living. That means it helps in pollination process. So what are the non-living? Wind and water. Another term we can use hydrophily and anemophily. So these are the again new term. Hydro, it is definitely it is clear because water is a hydro. But wind, that is anemophily. And biotic agents. What are the biotic agents? First of all, in your NCERT book, insect is given, then vertebrates, animals it is given, zoophily. So when the pollinating agent is insect, it is called entomophily. When the pollinating agent is vertebrates or animals, it is called zoophily. Rest of the thing, it is extra. That is, pollinating agent may be snail, then it is called malacophily. It may be bird, then it is called ornithophily. It may be bat, then it is called chiropterophily. It is only for NEET exam, it is not given directly in your NCERT book. So, pollinating agents, abiotic and biotic. Now, we will see everything in detail, that what different types of pollinating agents are there and what are the characteristics or the important feature for these agents. So here, first of all, wind pollination. Wind pollination, that is anemophily, we know that. Only two things we have to keep in our mind. Definition and all you can write yourself. But what two things? Sometimes it is asked in 3 marks question, that what are the characteristics for the wind pollinated flower. So I will show you what are the characteristics. First of all, stamen of these flowers should be long and hand out. And the second characteristic, stigmas are feathery and hang out of the flower. Means flower should have long stamen and long stigma, feathery stigma. Why feathery? To catch pollen grain. Other thing you can add there, that these flowers, they could be small, nectars, scents, these are not required. Colored, bright colors, that is also not required. They may be white in color. So these things are not essential. The essential thing is stamen and feathery stigma. Now the second question, characteristics of pollen grain. So pollen grains should be light in weight, light and dry. Here it is written dry, here it is written light. So pollen grain should be dry and light. One example which is given in your book, that is maize. Mostly the cereals, they are wind pollinated. Cereal plants, they are wind pollinated. So this is all about wind pollination. Now the next is few examples I have written here regarding wind pollination. It is rice, corn, rye, barley, oats, and many others. These are mostly cereal plants where there is the pollination takes place through wind. There are many other plants like pine, like fir. These are also wind pollinated. So this is about the wind pollination along with the example. But what is there in your book? That is maize. Maize is important. So it is there in your book. This is the picture of your book. It is showing a wind pollinated plant showing compact inflorescence and well exposed stamen. So with the help of this picture you can see the stamens, they are long. Stigma, they are long. So this is all about wind pollination. Now the next is, that is water pollination, that is hydrophily. Hydrophily definition, okay, leave that definition, because we know that when the agent is water, through water pollination takes place, that is called hydrophily. Here I will give you few examples. Before that, characteristics of wind pollinated plant. First characteristics which we can see here, that is wind pollinated plants. Pollens are produced in large number. Definitely water pollinated, sorry. Definitely wind pollinated also, the same characteristics. The pollens are light, definitely at the same time they should be large in number, huge in number. At the same way, in aquatic plant also, they should be lightweight so that they can float. At the same time, the production of the pollen grain should be large number, huge number. So this is for characteristic feature of the pollen grain for the hydro or the hydrophily or the water pollinated plant. But the interesting thing is pictures. First picture, it is given in your book. What question will come from this portion? Again the same. What is the characteristics of the flower, or what will be the characteristics of the pollen grain? So as I told you that flower should not be color, bright color is not required, nectar is not required. Whatever given in the for the wind, same here for the water. In case of plant, in case of pollen grains. But what important is here? What thing is important? That is examples. What are the examples given? In your book, there are so many examples. And I try to find out pictures of each example so that you can easily relate. So first one is Vallisneria. You know that already in first chapter also I have shown you that Vallisneria. It is a dioecious plant, male and female plant. First, it is female plant, and second, this is the picture of male flower. This is the picture of male flower. So, in female plant, we can see here there's a long stalk where the female flower is there. It is just surface of the water. And male flower, they get detached from their parent plant and floating over the water. So in Vallisneria, the female flower reach the surface of water by the long stalk, and the male flower or pollen grains are released onto the surface of water. They are carried passively by water currents. Not all aquatic plants use water for pollination. Don't get confused that aquatic means always water will be a pollinating agent. All aquatic plants, they are not using water as a pollinating agent. Here you can see the picture of water hyacinth. This is water hyacinth. Already I have shown you in first chapter. This is water lily. This is water lily. I am not going to write. This is water lily. And this is one new plant that I will write. This is Zostera. I will write here. This is Zostera. So Zostera, it is a seagrass. You can see here that the It is a submerged plant where the flowers, we can see here the flowers, beautiful flowers. Pollen grains, they are light weighted, and from here they released from the flower. Female flowers remain submerged in water and the pollen grains are released inside the water. Pollen grains in many such species are long, ribbon-like, and they are carried passively inside the water. Some of them reach the stigma and achieve pollination. In most of the water pollinated species, pollen grains are protected from wetting by mucilaginous covering. So this is all about water pollination or hydrophily. So the most important thing is Vallisneria, which is given in your NCERT book. Now the next pollinating agents, as it is written there in a flow chart, that is non-living, abiotic and biotic, this everything it is discussed. Abiotic it is discussed, wind already told you, juice just right now I have shown you. Then animals, birds, insects. Here again I'd like to stress on insect because you will get question in your NCERT, NCBC exam. I want to show you a picture, that is, one is insect pollination, lever mechanism, insect pollination, and another is wind pollination. Wind pollination, already we talk about this. What is wind pollination? But insect pollination, this picture is not there in your book, but this is for your information. It is salvia. The plant name is salvia. And this process is called lever mechanism. You can see this is a beautiful flower, and the flower is providing one platform for resting of the insect. So for resting and as well for taking nectar, insect just reached here and pollination takes place. When the insect sit on this platform, definitely pollen grains are that means shedding over the insect's body and there is a pollination. So this is insect pollination. Likewise, other examples are also there. It is given in your book. But before going to that example, I'd like to show you the difference between that wind pollination and insect pollination. Wind pollination, these are small about the flower, and here flowers, they are either large or grouped to form large clusters. Wind pollination, usually inconspicuous due to dull colors, that means color is not mandatory. But insect pollination, remember here, bright color is required so that it can easily attract insects. So bright colors are very important. They are odorless. Scent is not required. Nectar is not required. But at the same time, insect pollination, nectar and scent, it is required. Pollens are produced in large number. Pollen grains are produced, fewer, not as if you compare with the wind or water pollination, fewer pollens produced. Here it is example and here it is another example. So this is again, it will come 2 marks or 3 marks question, difference between wind pollination and insect pollination. And this lever mechanism of salvia flower, it is for your NEET preparation or any competitive exam. So this is all about difference between wind and insect pollination. So with this, I think we have covered our pollinating agents, characteristics of pollinating agent. Now I will show you two different types of flower. This is very new term, I think. One is chesmogamous flower, another is clistogamous flower. In short, I can tell you, chesmogamous means open flower. Whatever flower you are observing around you, mostly they are chesmogamous. They are open flower, we can see inside. But clistogamous flower, they do not open. That is the key word, key point of this two. One is open flower, another they do not open, always in the form of bud. So chesmogamous, self and cross pollination, both type of pollinations are possible. But clistogamous, definitely only self pollination. Right. So two differences, chesmogamous and clistogamous. So clistogamous means bud, closed flower. Chesmogamous means open flower. In your book, you will get few examples like Viola oxalis, commonlina. Actually, Viola oxalis and commonlina, they produce two types of flower, clistogamous as well as chesmogamous. So here you can see the picture of Viola, so that you will have idea of this flower. Two type of flower. First one is open flower and second one is closed flower. This is first, this is second. So this is clistogamous and this is chesmogamous. So very interesting. In one plant, two type of flowers present. Now the next, that is outbreeding devices. What are the outbreeding devices? First of all, the term should be clear. The meaning of outbreeding devices. Outbreeding devices are mechanisms which are followed and adapted by the plant in order to prevent self-pollination. Why there is a requirement of this process? Why self-pollination should be prevent or protected? We know that self-pollination means same flower, same genetic combination. That means no variations will appear. No variation will come out by self-pollination. Whatever characteristics is present in the parent, the same characteristic will transfer to the offspring. And which is not at all good for evolution. So for formation of new characteristics, cross-pollination is required. That is why there are some particular way by which bisexual flower, they are showing cross-pollination. They are doing cross-pollination. Means outbreeding devices. एग्जाम में आता है for 3 marks. यहाँ पे ये बता रहा है कि अगर बाइसेक्सुअल फ्लावर है तो डेफिनेटली मेल और फीमेल दोनों पार्ट्स उसमें हैं, तो वो सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन करेगा. लेकिन हमेशा सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन प्लांट के लिए अच्छा नहीं है, फ्लावर के लिए अच्छा नहीं होता, क्योंकि सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन करने से उसका कैरेक्टर में कोई चेंज नहीं आता, उसका कैरेक्टर सेम रह जाता है जैसा उसका पेरेंट्स का है. तो कैरेक्टर में वेरिएशन होने के लिए, जो कि नेचर के लिए ज्यादा अच्छा है, सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन को कभी कभी रुकना चाहिए, स्टॉप करना चाहिए और क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन को आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए. तो नेचर ने खुद से कुछ डिवाइसेस डेवलप किया है टू प्रिवेंट सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन एंड टू स्विच ऑन क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन. What are these devices? That is called outbreeding devices. Am I clear? Okay. So what are these mechanisms so that plant adopted by the plant in order to prevent self-pollination? Number 1, unisexuality. First, if the flower it is unisexual, no chance for self-pollination. It's very simple. Second is dichogamy, a new term. That directly the term is not given in your book, but the meaning same thing is written there. Dichogamy means in some flowering plants, pistil or stamen mature at the different time, thus preventing self-pollination. It is of two types. One is protogyny and another is protoandry. Protogyny and protoandry. By the term it is clear, if in flower gynoecium develops first, then it is called protogyny. First development of the gynoecium, then it is called protogyny. And if there is a development of androecium first, then it is called protoandry. अब अगर किसी फ्लावर में गायनेशियम पहले डेवलप हो गया और पॉलिन ग्रेन अभी बना ही नहीं है, तो डेफिनेटली बाहर के फ्लावर से पॉलिन ग्रेन आएगा, पॉलिनेशन होगा, तो क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन वहां पे जरूरी है. एट द सेम टाइम अगर किसी फ्लावर में एंथर या पॉलिन ग्रेन बना ही नहीं है, या सॉरी पहले बन गया, एंथर या पॉलिन ग्रेन पहले बन गया और पिस्टल डेवलप हुआ ही नहीं है, तो डेफिनेटली उस प्लांट का, उस फ्लावर का पॉलिन ग्रेन दूसरे फ्लावर में ही जाएगा. अपने प्लांट फ्लावर में तो कार्पेल अभी डेवलप हुआ ही नहीं. तो इफ gynoecium develop first, then androecium, then it is called protogyny. If androecium develop first, then gynoecium, then it is called protoandry. So these two terms which comes under dichogamy. Now the next is, that is self-incompatibility. Self-incompatibility. This is very important. You will get one question, exercise question regarding self-incompatibility. So what is this? It refers to the inability of a plant with functional pollen to set seeds when self-pollinated. It is the failure of pollen from a flower to fertilize the same flower. This is important. It is the failure of a pollen from a flower to fertilize the same flower or the other flower of the same plant. That means pollination takes place, pollination occurs. Pollination तो हो गया, pollen grains गिरा, स्टिग्मा के ऊपर आया, ड्रॉप हुआ, लैंड किया, बट आफ्टर पॉलिनेशन फर्टिलाइजेशन नहीं होगा. पॉलन ग्रेन्स फेलियर है फॉर द फर्दर प्रोसेस. पॉलिनेशन होने के बाद वो पॉलन ग्रेन खराब हो जाएगा, वहीं पे फर्टिलाइजेशन तक नहीं पहुंचेगा, प्लांट कार्पेल के अंदर तक नहीं जाएगा. सेम फ्लावर है, सेम स्पीसीज है, फिर भी पॉलिनेशन के बाद फर्टिलाइजेशन परफॉर्म नहीं हो रहा है. दैट इज कॉल्ड सेल्फ इनकम्पैटिबिलिटी. फेलियर ऑफ पॉलन फ्रॉम अ फ्लावर टू फर्टिलाइज द सेम फ्लावर. कुछ एक ऐसा प्रॉब्लम है फ्लावर में कि अपने ही पॉलन ग्रेन से वो फ्लावर फर्टिलाइज नहीं हो पा रहा है बाय सेल्फ डिफेंसिंग. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड सेल्फ इनकम्पैटिबिलिटी. सिंपल टर्म में एक फ्लावर का पॉलन ग्रेन उसी अपने ही फ्लावर के कार्पेल को या एग को फर्टिलाइज नहीं कर पा रहा है. दे आर फेलियर फॉर फर्टिलाइजेशन प्रोसेस ड्यू टू सम रीजन. तो अपने ही फ्लावर को नहीं कर पा रहा है, इसलिए इट इज कॉल्ड सेल्फ कंपैटिबिलिटी. आई थिंक द टर्म इज क्लियर. सो वंस अगेन, व्हाट आर द आउटब्रीडिंग डिवाइसेस? फर्स्ट इज यूनिसेक्सुअलिटी. Second is dichogamy, under which you are reading about protogyny and protoandry, and then self-incompatibility. Now, very interesting portion. It is, I will show you two different flower and one insect. Two different flower and one insect. It is the name of the flower is given in your book, but here I will tell. Nectar and pollen grains are the usual floral rewards. In some species, floral rewards are in providing safe places to lay eggs. An example is that of the tallest flower of Amorphophallus. You can see here, this is Amorphophallus. Okay, I will write it here. Amorphophallus. Second one is yucca flower. Amorphophallus flower, you can see, is a very big flower. The flower itself is about 6 feet in height. A similar relationship exists between a species of moth and the plant of yucca, where both species, moth and the plant, cannot complete their life cycle without each other. This is yucca. So in yucca flower, the moth deposits its egg. Where is the moth? This one is the yucca moth. So this moth deposits its egg in the locule of the ovary, and the flower in turn gets pollinated by the moth. So the egg which is deposited by this moth in the flower, inside of the flower, that is the safe place for growing of this egg. In turn of this flower is benefited because this insect pollinated this flower. So this is mutual relationship. Flower providing safest place for egg laying, and insect in turn of that pollinating the flower. So this is mutual relationship. So in case of insect pollination, there should be some reward. In case of animal pollination, there should be some reward. Then only animal or insect will come nearby this plant or flower. So this name of these flowers are given in your book, but the picture is not there. That is why I am showing you here the picture. Now the last about this chapter, that is pollen robbers. What are pollen robbers? This is very interesting. Many insects may consume pollen or the nectar without bringing about pollination. Simply, insects are coming to the plant and they are consuming nectar without any pollination process. So, such floral visitors are referred as pollen robbers. Those who are simply taking nectar but no pollination in gain in return, they are not doing pollination process. These insects are called pollen robbers. So with this, I think we have covered this portion, pollination. First of all, what is pollination? Then types of pollination, where geitonogamy is very important. Then after agents of pollination, where wind pollination, water pollination, insect and animal pollination is very important. In case of wind pollination, characteristics of flower and pollen grain is important along with the example. In water pollination, examples are very important, especially Vallisneria. In animal pollination, why animals are coming nearby the flowers, what are the criteria, this is important. And in insect pollination, again, mutual relationship, that is Amorphophilus and Yucca plant, and their reward and the pollinator, that robbers, these things are important. So here everything it is written here. This is a very simple and small topic. With this, it is over.